The script had been in development for, I think, about a year and a half. The director, Zach Birnbaum, the story was inspired by his bubby, who was from Dombrova, Granica in Poland, and when she was a kid, she did have to flee with her family, and so a lot of the stories that get folded into our bubby's experience really mirror real-life events, and so he wanted to write a movie for his bubby, and she had a dog who she said danced, and so that's how the movie actually started, with a title before any kind of story came about. I had done a short film with him, and got a phone call, and essentially he was like, "Hey, do you want to come to Romania for 4 weeks in the middle of January to shoot a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, what else am I going to do in January?" So how was production different in Eastern Europe than it was in shooting in Canada? It was pretty different. We were lucky that they had a pretty decent crew base, but they're not used to the hours. Like here in Canada, typically on set, 12 hours is a short day, and you're usually there for close to 16, and they're not as accustomed to that. A lot of the places were like Roma villages, so we were there would be all sorts of Roma children running around, and the cold weather. Those poor Romanian actors, the guys who played the mobsters, were we literally had to break every 3 to 5 minutes because they couldn't not be shaking. It was awful. And safety standards are a little different there, and there were all sorts of some things I can't get into. But in general, the hardest thing was essentially that most of our crew didn't speak English, and it was weird because our crew became like a family, even though nobody knew what the heck anybody was saying. So it was that took the longest to get used to, but about 2 weeks in, we sort of just hit our stride, and it somehow all worked out. The only cast that came from Canada were myself and Catherine. Once we got over there and we got into casting, we could not have predicted how incredible they would have all been, and how much they would have made those characters their own. A niece who played the cab driver, one line in the entire movie, new car. And she was just unbelievable, and always providing comedic relief whenever it was necessary. The craziest story about the rabbi, he didn't speak a word of English, not a single word of English. Everything that he spoke in that temple was phonetically memorized. His granddaughter was on set and had taught him the lines, so we would finish the scene and we'd be like, "Oh, that was great," and he would be like, "Huh?" Because he had no freaking idea what anybody was saying, and none of the actors spoke Polish, but all of those conversations in Polish, they just had it all. The Romania has a really phenomenal theater scene, so they had some incredible actors, and so we just kind of every day went to work, and we're just so lucky and grateful to have these people to play with and bounce off of, because in a lot of cases for Catherine and I, our job was to be a little more grounded within the absurdity, and to have such beautiful execution of the absurdity was just, it was a dream. So yeah. By way of Eastern Europe, Romania, for our budget, was much more cost effective, and they do quite a bit of filming in Romania, so we were able to get a pretty solid crew together. And our cinematographer, Stephen Whitehead, he had done a bunch of filming in Romania as well, so he knew a lot of the locations, and it just eased our process. So yeah, but it would have been nice to film in Poland too. We'll just have to go back and do the Dancing Dogs of Dombrova too, even more dancing, and it'll be even more misleading. There won't be any dogs in it this time, yeah, but next time hopefully. I loved the scene in the synagogue because it was a synagogue that once had a full congregation, and then 1935 to 1945 happened, and the entire congregation died, and there was only one Jewish person left in town, and they opened this synagogue that was over 400 years old, and nobody had set foot in for 60 years. And they opened it for us, and we just stepped in, and it was as you saw it, and it was just an unbelievably humbling experience. It's just the kind of thing that you can't really You can't really replicate. I don't think I'll have another moment like that again in my career. Filmmaking, we get to do a lot of really cool stuff. Like a lot of those locations nobody had been in hundreds of years, and we got to just go and walk around and film. And I don't think in my career I've ever been more acutely aware of just how unbelievably lucky we are to get to set foot where we do.